Yeah. Oh, we're live. That's okay.
All right. Well, it's another Rotohackers. We got some stuff to talk about. We're talking about comments and stuff and what we need to do, but we want to hear from you. So here's the intro. Well, Jared, how are you doing today? It's Jared and Judah Buddha, and we are here as the Rotohackers, video podcast thing where we do football
stuff.
Football,
we do stuff.
We were talking a little bit about the Mandalorian. Maybe we could talk about that once we get sick of football. But for now, there is some information. There's some news out there, right?
Yeah, I guess so. You tell me. Maybe you're more informed than I am. What's going on?
Oh, and I think we have. Yes, we do.
Hey, how's
it
it
is
going?
AJ Herschel, the kid. Well, I'm just talking about like Galladay being out. That was sort of a big blow to me, and we gotta talk about freaking Saints, man.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that. Let's start there. Do you guys think they're really going to go with Taysom Hill?
I mean, I'm uncertain enough to start either one of those.
You would start James?
No, I'm saying I am uncertain enough that I would not start either one of them.
Either. Oh, yeah. What do you think, AJ?
See, Ryan N., joke's on you. I didn't spend my money on Jameis Winston to make someone else not pick him up this week. So it worked out for me. But, I'm not starting either of them now. Because even if Taysom does play, I don't know how their offense is going to look. I don't know if they're going to be run heavy. And then I don't know if Jameis is going to mix into that. Not interested.
I would love to just see them put both of them back there. Both of them are back there on every snap. Do something.
Yes.
Do something to entertain me.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a strong chance that Taysom Hill could become the next Lamar for the rest of the season, right? I mean, that's possible.
Possible.
I told you guys at some point I saw this thing with there was a competition between the Saints and the Chargers, all their quarterbacks, backup and everything. And Taysom Hill impressed me the most in that thing. I was like, who is this? This is like a couple years ago. I was like, who's this Taysom Hill guy? He's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just passing. Of course, that wasn't. These are passing competitions,
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that he's not accurate, but he was accurate in that competition. So I don't know. Take it for what it's worth. So you wouldn't play him anywhere?
No. I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know. It's going to be like a 70-30 split, 60-40 split. If it's just going to be leaning heavily on Kamara, right. I have no idea. And it's too bad because it's a nice matchup. I mean, it's a great matchup. It's Atlanta, but
but is it? Because Atlanta's ever since they lost what's his name, the coach, they've been their defense has actually been pretty sturdy.
They've been better. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they beat Denver 34-27, Drew Lock put up a bunch of late points on them. The other game they played, some of the other games they've played, they haven't exactly been going up against like stellar competition. So, I think the Saints, with a serviceable quarterback or, one good quarterback in there, it would produce some pretty good fantasy numbers. But yeah, it's just too sketchy for me, especially when there's like most leagues, there's options like, Kirk Cousins against Dallas, out there and stuff like that. And I mean, yeah, you run the risk that Dalvin Cook just runs all over him, but as bad as Dallas is, Kirk and Dalvin might score a ton of points on them. So I would go probably that direction, unless, you're just in a league where even a guy like Cousins is gone, and then you just have to turn to one of those guys.
Yeah, and especially because this is still the NFL, someone can be named the starter, and then we don't know how long that's even going to last once the game actually starts.
It is interesting, though, that he's going with Taysom Hill as the starter, because he can't bring in Taysom Hill to run, to vulture touchdowns. It would be weird. In other words, Taysom Hill is the double threat. I don't think Winston is the same sort of double threat where you just give it to him to run it in, right? Like if Winston comes in, everybody knows they're going to throw, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that is the thing with Taysom, though, because, it's great whenever he comes in for Drew Brees, because then you have to cover basically what at that point is the triple option, whether he's going to hand it off, run it himself, or throw it. How does that translate to a whole game? Are you going to make everybody guess on the triple option every single play? How are you even going to balance that out?
It's like Lamar.
Right, but I'm saying I feel like that's something you'd have to game plan for ahead of time. If Taysom is going to be the starter, I feel like for the whole game, I feel like they're going to have a game plan going in for how much he's going to run and how much he's going to throw going into Sunday, because they feel like that's going to give them an advantage over Atlanta. I think that's what they're going to do if Taysom's in there.
Sure, it's interesting. And then in the big controversy is if you are in any ESPN leagues, and if you are, I'm sorry, but you get to play him as a tight end.
That's crazy.
That is sweet. That would make Yahoo really interesting.
But I mean, have you ever played in any ESPN leagues? They are the worst.
No, I don't play them.
Really?
I usually don't play them. I got suckered into one this year, and I could pick up Taysom Hill, but the stupid thing is I've got some guy in my IR because I haven't been paying attention. I've got Drake in my IR, and he's already played, so it's like, well,
that's rough.
It's just one of those free leagues with friends. I'm like, oh,
yeah, NFL is a little bit annoying too. I found out a couple weeks ago I couldn't pick up someone while McCaffrey was out because IR is literally just for IR or exempt from like coaches list, like Antonio Brown first 8 weeks or any of that, or not on a team. If they're just out, you can't put them up there. You can't put them up there if they're just injured. It has to be actually injured reserve.
In ESPN?
In NFL, in that case.
Oh, in NFL. In NFL.com?
Yep. Yep.
Well, in other news, I did want to talk a little bit about the Lions. Kind of looks like a mess. Would you be touching any Lions this week? You have Swift out with a concussion. You have Galladay has just been one big bust this year. I swear.
Yeah.
And then of course Stafford's got an injured throwing hand. So what do you do with any Lions this week? Bench him?
I mean, depending on if you've got TJ Hawkinson as your tight end, some people may have to roll with him. Adrian Peterson, it's Carolina.
True.
Maybe you can roll out Adrian Peterson one more time. Yeah, I mean that I would have to be more desperate, but I mean you could do it.
AJ,
I don't
is this you? Huh?
I'd probably. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say this is what's your guy's name? I can't.
Stafford?
No, the
DeAndre?
wide receiver there.
Marvin Jones.
Is this you're the Marvin Jones prophet?
Yeah.
Is this Marvin Jones day?
It's kind of been the Marvin Jones show for the past 3 weeks. In consecutive weeks, he's had 10, 17, 11, and 19 points. And his targets have gone 5, 6, 7, 4, 10. So it's kind of been the Marvin Jones era right now with Kenny Galladay going out. It's Carolina, so that should be a little more difficult. But I mean, Washington's supposed to be the 31st best team against wide receivers, and look what he did to them. So I do like Marvin Jones, but it just worries me because Stafford historically has never done well fighting through injuries. He throws a lot of interceptions when his hand's messed up. So I like him as a flex play, especially in deeper leagues, but it still worries me with how Stafford's going to perform. I'm getting to the point where I might end up starting Alex Smith over him. That's how concerned I am.
Yikes.
Hey, Alex Smith threw for 400 yards and no picks last week. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been solid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if he could get a couple of touchdowns with, those kinds of yards. And I mean, it's Cincinnati. It's
Exactly.
Cincinnati. So
Exactly.
I just picked up a McLaurin rookie card. Just got, the new thing is they put a little piece of jersey in there for some of the inserts.
Yeah,
I just picked up a McLaurin jersey card for like $10, and it's got hologram on it.
Nice.
And I'm pretty proud of it. I thought it was not in worse condition. I just got it in the mail, and I'm like, oh, this is pristine condition. I might get it graded.
Nice.
But I think McLaurin could be big time if they. I mean, I don't know. It'd take better quarterback, right?
I don't know. I mean, Terry's definitely the number one target in Washington, and he's had 2 weeks and half point, 2 weeks under 10 points. So he's always going to get 10 plus points in that regard. He's always going to be super consistent in what he gets. And I don't think it's that hard to say that he could get a touchdown against a Cincinnati defense that can let basically anybody throw on them. Like we saw with Baker Mayfield of all people. We've seen how inconsistent he can be, and he torched Cincinnati twice. So I'm expecting a big thing. I'm hoping, I'll say, big things from Washington's offense this week against Cincinnati. Plus, this is a Cincinnati defense that just got tore up by Ben Roethlisberger throwing 4 touchdowns on him too. So,
yeah. Well, speaking of Cincinnati, looks like Mixon's out one more week.
Oh, firing up Gio for one more week.
Yeah, I keep dropping and picking up Gio every week on one league. So here's the thing: is that they came out and said on Roto World, they said he does not have a major injury. What does that mean? Because he's been out. This will make his 4th week. He's out. Isn't that a major injury? What does he have that's keeping him out? 4 weeks. That's not a major injury. He's pregnant?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's aggravating though. I mean, yeah, just one more week of are they gonna are Kenny Galladay and Joe Mixon gonna be back this week? No, they're not. No, they're not. So, it's just like I don't know. Next year it's gonna change. I mean, fortunately, I've kept Gio in most leagues, but I dropped him. I think maybe in one, and I think next year it's going to change the way I hold on to backups to where even if someone's saying like, oh yeah, no, it's it's going to be a 1 week injury or whatever, I'm just going to hang on to him regardless because the new mode of operation seems to be like even if it's a month-long injury, we'll say it's a 1 week injury.
Yeah, and I think Drew Vano's the one who brought this up in our chat one time. Foot injuries are nothing to just
play with.
Yeah, exactly. Play with when it comes to running backs, especially. So, I mean, that could be part of it. I mean, that's one of the main things we're using. If he's never 100%, I think that's what Cincinnati's doing. If he's not 100%, he ain't getting to go.
Yeah.
Well, we already have Anthony in our chat saying for the listener league, which 2 wide receivers have the most upside? Pittman, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Mike Williams, downtown Antonio Brown, or Curtis Samuel? I don't know. Jeez. I think maybe you have no idea. What do you guys think? I mean, Samuel, it could be like every other week type thing, and maybe this is Samuel's week between him and Moore. I might roll with some Samuel. Maybe Antonio Brown starts to connect a little bit more with with Tom. What do you guys think? Jared?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, Mike Williams has one of the best matchups with the Jets. But I think in terms of volume, you could trust more. It would probably be Pittman or Antonio Brown. Curtis Samuel keeps finding ways to score. I forgot what he did last week.
Ruined my Robbie Anderson shares.
Last week he did not. Sorry. Last week he came back to earth with 8 yards on 8 yards receiving. So, but he's got a good matchup this week. Yeah, that's tough. I would say, I guess if I had to, I think Mike Williams has maybe the most upside, but also the lowest floor, because he's playing the Jets. Antonio Brown's going to have to share with a bunch of people. Michael Pittman, even though he's starting to come along in the Colts offense, has to share. Hollywood, you don't know what you're going to get. Curtis Samuel, there again, high upside, but low floor. I mean, we saw 2 straight weeks of Curtis getting basically 20 points, and then he came back to 2. So I think the 2 guys with the highest upside also have the lowest floor, with Mike Williams and Curtis Samuel.
AJ?
It's kind of gotten to the point where I just can't advise anyone to start Hollywood anymore. So by process of elimination, definitely not him. The guy hasn't scored more than 10 points since week 5, and he hasn't scored more than 7 since week 6. So not Hollywood. To me, Curtis Samuel is just so questionably inconsistent. I don't know if that was just a 3-week run where he got lucky with a couple touchdowns. I probably wouldn't go him. I might go Pittman Antonio or Williams Antonio, one of them. Antonio, I just feel like his connection's getting better and better with Brady, and the Rams have such a good run defense too, with Aaron Donald on the front 7. I don't know if Rojo and Fournette are going to get a whole bunch of running time. So I'd probably go either in Williams or Pittman for the last slot, but Antonio's definitely going in for me. I'll say Mike Williams for now because they're just playing the Jets, and that's going to be so nice. And the Colts are playing the Packers, who cannot stop literally any running back at all. So this could be a big Taylor, Hines, Wilkins game, I think. I don't know which one to start, because it's the Colts, but one of them is going to get a whole bunch of carries. So I'll say Williams and Antonio.
And I'll stipulate with mine too that he said which 2 have the most upside. So I did not say those are the 2 that I would start. I just said those are the 2 with the most upside. I'm not going to tell him. I'm not telling him who I'd start because he's playing.
Interesting. Yes. Highest upside. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because most of these guys are high upside, also low floor. So I think you're right, though. The Pittman probably has the highest floor. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably go with Pittman, and I don't know. Well, the other news that came across my wire this morning was that they're going to activate Michelle off of the IR. Is this going to ruin Harris shares or what?
I mean, he's already been sort of like you can't really expect that much because he's not really getting touchdowns. I mean, he's getting a ton of carries. He's getting yards, but I mean, you look what he's done in the 3, 4, 5, 6 games. He's had basically 3 games at 7.5 points or less, and he's had 2 games around the 10 to 12 mark. Solid. That's a James White like flex, a different type of James White, because James White's getting all those little receptions. Damian's just running the ball. And then he had one good game. He had one good game against Buffalo, 16 carries, 102 yards, and a touchdown. So, I mean, if you were already relying on him, or if you were already relying on him, then you were probably in trouble. If you were hoping that he was going to, break out from that, then obviously it doesn't look like that's probably going to happen. He's banged up. Sony Michel's coming back. They still have Burkhead and White. So yeah, he's not someone that I want to trust in lineups, which is a shame because it's a good matchup with Houston.
Yeah, I love hearing Thomas H. come on our show and complain about Tampa Bay running backs, and mentally, I just think New England running backs are so much worse. As soon as you think someone's getting the carries, Rex Burkhead comes in and says, "I'm going to score 3 touchdowns this week." Look, the thing with Sony is I don't know if he's going to start. I don't know if they're going to use him to spell Burkhead for goal line carries. I don't know if they're going to use him to spell Harris. If he starts spelling Burkhead and they start switching out goal line carries, I don't think it's that bad because Harris wasn't getting goal line carries start. He's the workhorse back. He gets him close to the end zone. But if he starts spelling Harris on the drives downfield, that's when I get seriously worried about Damian Harris for the rest of the season.
Will be something to watch for someone like me who is starting Henderson, Harris, and Jones in our listener league.
Yikes.
I'm not worried. We got Drew Vanos saying, "What's up, my dudes? What's up, Drew?" And we've got Sam calling us hotties. So thank you.
How's it going?
Back at you.
He commented on our last video and said he's might be making a run at the championship in his only league this year.
Nice. Awesome. Well, other than, I did want to talk, if we don't have any more questions, I do want to talk a little bit about the game on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting game. Every time those guys get together and play, it does seem to be the scoring is always a little less than expected. And I guess it kind of felt like that again, of course, with Murray. Not really. He didn't outperform his projection by any means. And I think he underperformed.
Yeah, he and Russ both were like around 20 points.
I think.
Yeah, which I mean for them, you want at least like 24, 25, and you're hopeful that you might get 30, 35. So Murray was at 20.26 and Russ was at 20.08. So yeah, pretty pedestrian for them. And this is now. We've talked about Russell Wilson just kind of trailing off late in the season, and now the last 3 games. I mean, Buffalo, he had 390 yards, but he only had a couple of touchdowns. He had 24 points, which is solid, but maybe not what you'd expect. And then he was under 12 against the Rams and 20 against the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. So, the next 3 games aren't very intimidating. Philadelphia, New York, and the Giants, and then the Jets. But then, he closes the season at Washington and at home against the Rams. So maybe Russ breaks the streak late in the season, but if I was a Russell Wilson owner, I would be worried about getting into the playoffs, having him carry you into the playoffs for most of the season with these video game numbers, and then him letting you down in the fantasy playoffs. And that's why I don't mess. I have Russell Wilson in 0 leagues. Wow. And that would have gotten me to the playoffs, I'm sure, in a lot of leagues this year. Had a lot of Dak and Kyler. But I don't trust him for that reason.
Yeah, Russell Wilson definitely hurt, but my opponent I went in 1 league, but my opponent had Kyler Murray, so it kind of canceled out. But I will say that's why I got Justin Herbert as early as I could because his end of season schedule is beautiful. But I'm DK Metcalf, I love you, but you dropped 2 very important passes, 1 20-yard catch, and then 1 touchdown. And that really, really hurt.
And even the announcers were like, that was weird. It was almost like he closed his eyes.
Yeah, it's like his helmet or something.
It came right. He grabbed the ball, DK. It's like he's closing his eyes to catch him. Like,
yeah, that hurt. Also, one thing I will say Seattle shocked me, and other than their defense, is the effectiveness of their running game. Carlos Hyde had maybe his best game in a year, both
Yeah.
catching and running the football. And this also made me realize how many running backs Seattle has and how much that scares me when Chris Carson comes back, because that means they have Carson, they have Hyde, they have Dallas, they have Homer, they have Collins, and they have Bo Scarborough. And now Rashad Penny's coming back off of the IR list. That's 7 startable running backs that the Seahawks have. And I know Carson's the number one and all that, but that's just really, really worrying to me.
I don't think they're all going to stay on the active list. Do you think? I mean, they're going to deactivate somebody.
I mean, Travis Homer's got the least amount of playing time, but I mean, like, Dallas did well in his start. So is Hyde. Carson's the number one. Bo Scarborough came in and ran for 5 yards a carry on Thursday, which I love the guy, and I'm glad he's finally getting more playing time. But yeah, that's a situation that's getting increasingly scarier to touch.
Yeah.
Were there any more takeaways from the game? Well, it looks like Drake is back, but it does seem to be a 1-2 punch, right? Both guys are getting lots of playing time, the same as it has been the whole season, really.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, AJ.
I was just going to say Chase, I think, is going to be more involved in the passing game. He got 2 carries this week, so he's kind of just evolved into James White, I think, in my opinion. And Kenyon Drake really kind of saved his day with that touchdown, because otherwise he would have been sitting at 7 points. But I don't know if it's so much – he ran not very effectively. Seattle's front seven was actually great this week, but I think Chase is just going to be more of a James White-esque guy going forward. Yeah,
Drake, he like in 2 games, he has not done well against Seattle. Their game on October 25th, he had 14 carries for 34 yards. I think what was a little bit more reassuring about him was they passed the ball to him a little more than usual. He had 5 targets, caught 4 balls, and had 31 yards. So that combined with the touchdown, like you said, kind of saved him. But so it is at least nice to see him getting, if you're a Drake owner, the bulk of the carries and, getting a little more involved in the passing game. He, though, he's kind of like Russell, the running back version of Russell Wilson's schedule, where his playoff schedule, though, is not great. It's Philadelphia, which is, fairly tough against the run. And then even San Francisco with their beat up front seven, their, remanufactured front seven, more or less. So I don't know.
Well, one of the things that I noticed is that when Jamal Adams is in there, they're a different defense for Seattle. He makes a huge difference, and it may be that they're just coming together as a team, health-wise in general. But man, he is good. I was just watching him play, and he's just so versatile. He's in there rushing. He's in there he's playing all over the field on defense. It seemed like.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we got some questions here in the chat. Let's see. Drew says I'm 5-5. I need some wins. I
felt that.
Yeah. I think everybody's 5-5 this year. It's like except for a few that have like 7 wins.
The vast majority of my teams are between 6-4 and 4-6.
Yeah.
Yep. Me too. All right. Let's see. Sam says, what do you guys think of this trade? Sanders, Fulgham for Ingram. I have Goddard, Galladay, Deontay, and Edmonds. Is Fulgham now, with everybody coming back with, I don't know, it just seems like with everybody getting healthy, wide receiver wise and tight end wise, is Fulgham, is he worth playing? I mean, is he worth the projected is he going to get the projected 13 points a game that he, has so wonderfully blessed us with, thanks to Jared telling us about him?
Yeah.
Jared, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about him. I mean, the last couple of games, his targets have been down. He had when he really kind of started to catch on, he had 3 straight games of double-digit targets. Last 2, he's had Dallas, he had 7, which is still solid, and he caught 78 yards and a touchdown. That Giants game is pretty rough. I guess he's projected at 11 points for this week, 11.01. I would, after that performance last week, I'd kind of like to see what he does this week before I would really throw him out there again. 2 weeks from now, he's got Seattle, so that's a pretty nice matchup. But if you've got another option, I would probably prefer that and see what happens with him this week.
But as to the question, do you think Sanders Fulgham for Ingram?
Yeah. You got to hope that Galladay is going to be back. I think maybe it depends on what the rest of your running back situation looks like. If you can afford to trade Sanders, I don't worry as much about, giving up Fulgham. To get Deontay, hopefully you're getting Kenny Galladay back next week, maybe. Edmonds is solid. So if you've got a couple of good running backs, I'd be okay with that. I think I'd probably do that.
Which Sanders is this? Is this
Miles?
I assume it's Miles. Yeah.
For Ingram?
For
the tight end?
Which does confuse me. Is he getting Sanders in this trade? Because he's saying for Ingram, I have Goddard. So I think he's trading away Ingram, Galladay, Deontay, and Edmonds.
Oh, okay. That's true. You may be right. It's not just Ingram, Judah. It's Galladay, Deontay, and Edmonds.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
So if that's I would probably, whichever way it is, I would probably do the deal where you either keep or get the package of Ingram, Galladay, Deontay, and Edmonds. Unless you are just blessed with, unless like Galladay and Deontay are like your 5th and 6th wide receivers or something, and you're just desperate for a number 1 type running back.
AJ?
Yeah, especially because here's the thing. You're giving up a lot for Miles Sanders, and I get the running back premium and everything, but you're giving up the number 1 wide receiver on the Lions, an absolute target hog for the Steelers. You're giving up Chase Edmonds, who's already a pass-catching running back, and you're giving up basically one of the best handcuffs in the league in Evan Ingram. For Miles Sanders, who's been doing fine, and I think that's the best I can say. He's been doing fine. And Travis Fulgham, who just put up a point last week. And I don't know what to do with him now because, Judah, to your point, Rager's back. Alshon might be coming back. Goddard's just coming back. I don't know how
Ertz is coming back too.
Ertz is coming back. There's another one. So his target share is obviously going to dip because now they have so many more weapons. Before it was Fulgham and Greg Ward, and that was about it. But now they're getting their full receiving core back. They're trying to make a run at the playoffs. I don't know how confident I feel in Fulgham. If I was going to give up Galladay, Deontay, and Edmonds, I would probably want a more consistent receiver than Travis Fulgham in the trade. If I'm getting Sanders here, I'd ask for something maybe a little more consistent than Fulgham. And I think it just depends on what your running back situation is. If your running back situation is absolutely messy and you literally have Giovanni Bernard is your best one and the other one's DeAndre Swift, I might have to do that because Sanders is going to be your best option. But if you can hold out at running back, and you've got deep wide receivers, I would ask for something a little bit safer, I'll say, than Travis Fulgham.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you guys. Okay, let's go to, I think I missed, Drew said AB, Gronk, or Hollywood in a flex PPR, no tight end. Oh, no tight end league.
Interesting.
So it's like just a bunch of flexes. AB, Gronk, or Hollywood. I think I'd probably go with Gronk there. I think that even with all the new wide receivers, Gronk is going to be that he's going to have that tender spot in Tom's heart. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Not Hollywood. I think the answer to every question is not Hollywood.
Not Hollywood. And so this week is going to blow.
So this will be that. And I mean, Tennessee has given up the fourth most fantasy points to wide receivers, so he could easily do it. But maybe it's a case where the Titans
Butler shadows him all game.
Well, and it looks like things are shifting to Willie Snead as Lamar's favorite target.
Could be.
I like Willie Snead too. So all right. So what do you think about AB?
I would go AB over Gronk though. I just don't know. I mean, I think Gronk maybe has. I don't know. I mean, he's just he's not getting that many targets. He's basically very touchdown dependent. I mean, he's going to get you 12, 14 points if he gets a touchdown. If not, he's going to get you 6. I think AB's got a little bit of a higher ceiling there. I think Tom, he had 8 targets last week. I think Tom's going to keep continuing to feed him because again, we've discussed. Like if under the best conditions, you don't know what you're going to get from Hollywood Brown. If Tom doesn't feed him the ball enough, then the story Monday night may be that, AB gets arrested for stealing a child's fire truck and physically assaulting a rodeo clown on top of a 7-Eleven. Like that's gonna be the AB story.
Oh man.
Oh my
Where did you come up with these?
I just think of a plausible scenario for Antonio Brown. I mean, is it really that much more absurd than what he's already delivered?
Every episode, I need a new AB crime.
I'll try. I'll try to do that.
Oh man. I think I'm with Jared. I think I might go AB. Gronk, to be fair, has been maybe the greatest touchdown dependent player ever because in the last 5 games, he's got a touchdown in all of them but one. And in that one, he got 6 targets. And that's maybe the flukiest game I've ever seen where someone gets 6 targets and catches 1 for 2 yards. Like that's rough. And that was also in the game against New Orleans where Tampa decided we're just going to forget how to play football. So Gronk's nice, but like I said, I don't like touchdown dependent people. I'll go Antonio Brown in this one. He's just a safer play. And more targets. Since this is PPR.
He does get more targets. It's true. And they're going up. DJ Moore or Myers? Full PPR. Last week was a DJ Moore game, so probably means this week won't be. Myers does seem to be a favorite target. Yeah. He's developed. It seemed like Bird might be, but then nope. Myers is really stepped up as Cam's favorite target. What do you guys think? AB. AJ, let's go with you first.
I kind of like, I'm going to be honest, the safety of Jacoby Myers right now. I'm even considering starting him over T. Higgins this week. And y'all know how much I love him, but Higgins has a rough matchup this week.
He's also kind of banged up or sick too, right?
He got cleared, I think, on Thursday. He got the questionable tag removed. Myers is going up against Houston, and he's gotten 10 points in back-to-back games. And yeah, his only touchdown last week came from a passing touchdown, which was the greatest play in history to watch Jacoby Myers launch a floater to Rex Burkhead in the end zone. Didn't think I was going to say that today, but I think that's because they were playing in a monsoon against Baltimore where you couldn't throw the ball worth anything in the second half. So I'll go Jacoby Myers. DJ Moore is just so questionable to me. I'll go with the safe points in New England right here.
Yeah, same. I mean, Jacoby's just so consistent right now. Houston's a good matchup. DJ Moore, I've got him in some leagues, have to play him in some leagues, but yeah, every week it's like, okay, which DJ Moore is showing up this week? So yeah, I would go Myers. DJ
Moore is like playing Wheel of Fortune, but when you spin the wheel, it's either $1 million or bankrupt. Either one.
It's kind of true. Oh man, well, Drew Vano says 3-loss streak. Guess we got into 5-5. Sorry, bro. Is that in the listener league? Maybe not. So yeah, Sam was saying he was getting Sanders.
Mhm.
Yeah, we talked about that. So what about, so you like Myers or Cooper? That's a crazy question because what is Cooper going to be? It looks like we got the Red Rocket coming back. You're going to be throwing to Cooper and Lamb and maybe some Gallup. We don't know. He's probably going to blow up now that I've dropped him. So I probably go with Myers here just for peace of mind. But what do you guys think, Jared?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I mean, Minnesota's a good matchup. Like you said, Dalton's coming back. And in that kind of, I guess, maybe really two games where we kind of got to see some Dalton and Cooper. You know, he liked throwing to him. You know, I mean, both times it was basically 80 yards. Basically 7 catches and 80 yards, you know, both games. One he had a touchdown. I might give him the benefit of the doubt and throw Cooper out there.
Really?
Yeah. But I can, you know, the smarter, safer play might be Myers, but I think they're pretty comparable.
Pretty even, right? Yeah. What do you think, AJ?
I think if you're chasing points, you go Amari. I think he's got a better chance of blowing up against a mediocre Vikings back 4. But I'll go. I like safer plays. I've said that a lot. So I'll go Jacoby Myers. He's getting just a stupid amount of targets recently, 10, 14, and 7. But once again, playing in a monsoon against Baltimore. So I'll go Jacoby Myers. I like his upside this week. I think he's safe for play.
By the way, it's great to have you, Spartan22. Good to have you in the chat. All right, let's see. Sam says schedule on Galladay and Edmonds is real bad, and he has Chubb, Jacobs, and Adams. So that's why why would you want Sanders on top of that?
Well, that is a really good flex play, though. I mean, if you're riding with Devontae Adams and Nick Chubb and Josh Jacobs is like your number 1 wide receiver and your running backs, you get Miles Sanders as a lock for your flex for the rest of the season.
How much better is Sanders than Edmonds, though? Has he been a lot better?
I think.
I mean, like in production so far.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me about that is last week as someone who has a lot of stock in Miles Sanders, he had touchdowns vultured by Boston Scott and Corey Clement, which was, and I mean, he didn't have a touchdown. So, you know, I don't know. I guess it, you know, you can make that deal, you know, I mean, I think if you're, one thing I guess I kind of believe in is if you're really passionate about a deal, you know, then go do it. I mean, because I think that's where people tend to get upset later about I listened to people's advice and then didn't do it. And if you want to do it, then I would do it. And then, you know, I think either way, that's going to be sort of a learning lesson for you. Like if it works out, then you're going to be like, okay, I should trust my own advice here. And I know my team better. If it doesn't, then you're going to be like, okay, if enough people try to talk me out of something, then, you know, maybe I should defer sometimes.
Yeah. I'd also say careful with looking too much at schedule. Although I don't know. I mean, this is kind of a interesting situation because we really haven't seen. Well, I would say that I've never been a real big believer in Sanders and his skill. I just think he's just kind of a Joe Schmo who got a real good opportunity last year. This year, he's done pretty well with what he's got. He's sort of showed me that he's better than what I thought he was. So, although he gets injured, so I don't know. I think go like Jared said, go with your gut. AJ,
that is kind of the thing I do like about Sanders, though. I mean, yeah, is it frustrating that he's getting touchdowns vultured from him? Yeah, but he's putting up 10-plus points without getting touchdowns. And just the possibility that he might break one, who knows when, he might break another touchdown, that's really, really enticing to me. And Yeah, he had terrible matchups early in the season. I think that's part of the reason why he was super boomer bust. I mean, anyone who has to go against San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Baltimore 3 weeks in a row is going to be frustrating, and he put up 10-plus points in 2 of those. So, yeah, he doesn't have the easiest schedule down the road. He gets New Orleans and Arizona, but Arizona just got torched by Carlos Hyde. So, I like Sanders for the rest of the year. Like I said, I might do the trade if I could get someone a little bit better than Fulgham in return. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's true. Fulgham's a little bit kind of a throwaway. Or he might not be. He's hard to tell. Okay, well, let's move on. I don't know what we got going on here, but Spartan's telling us about his wide receivers. He's got Wilson. Okay. Oh, because he was talking about Myers or Cooper.
Yeah.
Samuel. Well, so Kamara. I forgot to talk about Kamara because he is scary there at the beginning of the week where we're talking about an ankle problem, missed 2 practices. He's back at practice yesterday. Any worries about him this week from you guys?
I not particularly. I mean, I don't know that there's been anything that's really looks like his tag is off now. So although, Atlanta's actually been better, against the run than they have the pass. So this would be kind of interesting to see, like, if it is, especially if it is Taysom Hill, if the Falcons just really boat up against the run and said, hey, beat us with the pass. Let's see it,
Yeah.
That'd be interesting for Michael Thomas, right?
Yeah. I think Kamara's going to be fine. It's Kamara. He came in healthy, and he said on Thursday that he missed a practice, but he feels fine, and he's going to be all right. It's nagging me, but I'm going to play through it. He feels fine. I think his foot's good to go. And it is funny to me that Atlanta is somehow bottom 5 in allowing points, which makes me wonder, is this because you played the Panthers on Thursday and then went and had Drew Lock throw 50 passes against you guys? I think Kamara is going to be fine. He's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a pretty good lineup. Oh, and Drew Vanna was saying Teddy might be out. So what does that mean for Moore?
That's a good point. Yeah, if Teddy's out, then who is Carolina's backup? Will Greer, or is it?
No, it's
Will Greer and PJ Walker are currently
PJ Walker
for second on the official depth chart because that makes sense.
Well, I saw PJ Walker come in from last time he got hurt, and he did okay. It was interesting. Short guy. It was interesting. He used to play for XFL.
Yep.
So kind of I was kind of excited to see him play, and I saw him on the waiver wire and thought where I lost who did I lose this week? Where I didn't think Jameis, I picked up Jameis and thought about just putting in PJ Greer. I think I'm probably going to go with Kirk Cousins instead. So who knows if that's
great matchup though.
But what is that going to mean for Moore or Samuels? We have no idea, right? It's throws things off a little bit. Might want to trend away from those guys or trend towards them. I don't know.
Yeah, and that just makes me worried for Carolina's receiving core in general, making me think this could be a nice Mike Davis game, especially if they're running or checking it down a lot. And I know people are going to go and overanalyze the 2 drives that PJ Walker played in to figure out who his favorite target was, just like we overanalyze Andy Dalton coming in for 2 drives for Dak Prescott. But that does really worry me. If it's an injured Teddy Bridgewater who's been freakishly accurate this year, to be fair to him, even if it's an injured Teddy Bridgewater or PJ Walker, if I can help it, I'm pretty much benching all of my Panthers wide receivers just because I don't want to take that risk if I have someone better, like if I have Jefferson or even Juju, he's been getting better. It just worries me depending on what's going to happen with any of the Carolina wide receivers. It's a dart throw to me. It's a dart throw.
Spartan 22 says, thanks, guys. I have one more. Neither of these would be my starters, but would you take Duke Johnson or Kaylyn Bellage, I think I would probably go to Duke Johnson. I don't see he hasn't done much with what he's gotten, but he doesn't have a lot of competition there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think? AJ, what do you think?
I've been burned by Chargers running backs once. Josh Kelly, week 3. That hurt. We still have no timetable on Eckler. They said his time is drawing near. That's what people said when movies were.
Well, did you see the video of him running?
Yeah, he looks. He. I haven't seen it actually, but I heard he looks all right. I don't think either of them are going to be longer season plays. Duke does worry me because he's going up against New England, but they haven't been great against the run this year, and they kind of got tore up by Baltimore. I might go Duke Johnson. I think he's the safer play. He's going to catch passes out of the backfield for sure. Bellage, I'm just worried that, I'm just worried about what happens if Josh Kelly just comes back for some apparent reason, because this is the Chargers, and I know Herbert's probably going to throw it a lot because it's the Jets. So I'll go Duke Johnson. I feel like he's the safer play.
I'm actually going to be the lone dissenter here and say Kaylyn Bellage against the Jets at home. Bellage is getting 15 to 20 carries per game. The past 2 games he's gotten 15 and 18, basically been pretty consistent with 69 and 68 yards, had a touchdown against Vegas. Miami's defense is a little bit better. Jets are giving up the 7th most points to running backs. I think maybe it's a game where, the Chargers could also get a lead too and, be running the ball a little bit more. Houston's running game, you just never know what you're going to get out of it. And kind of like with the Patriots, they're not, like you said, they're not as good against the run. But they're better than what the Jets have been. And I just trust Bill Belichick to scheme a little bit better. So I'll say Bellage.
Okay. Well, Sam, he's trying to sell Chubb for possible wide receiver. Just want to see who breaks out. He wants a wide receiver 1. Who would you sell Chubb for?
Let me look real quick. It's going to be a short
there's
list.
Not a lot of great. Yeah, it's going to be a real short list.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it would have to be Tyreek. Maybe DK, although, like I said, DK's end of the season schedule, just like with Wilson, worries me. Tyreek, Devontae.
I think he has Devontae, so.
Oh, that's right. I think you're right. Yeah. Maybe Diggs.
Ooh, forgot about Diggs. Yeah.
You can, Ridley's targets have kind of gone down. I still hate that as a straight up trade. Keenan Allen, might be another one he's been. Yeah. So I would say for me, the list would be, fairly short of, if he already has Devontae, then Tyreek, maybe Diggs, Keenan Allen, even Hopkins has been hit or miss lately, and he has some tough matchups coming up. So, yeah, Tyreek, Diggs, Keenan Allen, and if you feel good about DK, but again, his schedule's tough at the end of the season. So those are the top 3 for me.
I like that. What do you think, AJ? Any?
Just one. If you can, this is more of a combo because running back premium, you've got that bonus. Terry McLaurin. I love his consistency, and he's obviously the number 1 target. His schedule isn't horrendous. He does get Carolina week 21, but this is still Washington we're talking about. So they run the football kind of inefficiently, even though Gibson's been good. I would go. I think he's one I'd like a combo with. If I was getting McLaurin, to be McLaurin plus someone else, which after that, I don't know, maybe McLaurin and Justin Jefferson, maybe if you could get both of them for Nick Chubb, if you want depth at wide receiver. But yeah, I think the I think Jared hit it on the head. Those are the ones that I trade for too. I just also throw in Mclaren plus someone else.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was trying to think if there's any. What about Lockett? Would you guys think about trading for Lockett? He has some big games, and if DK gets all the coverage, Lockett could be just as good as DK.
I like Lockett, but the thing with him is that he is surprisingly been one of the most boomer bust receivers in the NFL. Ever since week 3, he has only had 2 games over 9.1 points, and both of those were against Arizona. So I'm not feeling great about Tyler Lockett.
Okay. Yeah, same. You've got to if you're giving away Nick Chubb, who's going to be consistent week to week, you've got to get a consistent wide receiver to replace him.
Mm-hmm.
Great point. Yeah, just keep Chubb. Fill in your wide receiver with somebody else. So Sam says, "True, thanks for the advice, guys." Cademan's in the chat. What's up, Cademan?
How's it going?
He's the second of the pair in the Allied Rivals podcast. Check it out. YouTube.com/Allied Rivals. AJ Herschel and Caden Bauer. Good to see you, man. Drew says, "Oh yeah, PJ Walker. He is probably going to start because he's the Matt Rule. He's been in the Matt Rule system before. I think in college, just like Robbie Anderson. Matt Rule's an interesting coach too. I've begun to appreciate him more than when he first came in. I thought he was going to be another one of these, college coaches that doesn't pan out. But he's been pretty stout."
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, AJ?
About PJ or Matt Rule?
Both.
PJ Walker, like I said, I liked him in the XFL. He basically was the MVP of the season and almost lost me the XFL championship in fantasy football because
I forgot you did that.
It lasted 4 weeks, but it was some of the most fun 4 weeks. The website crashed. The draft was mediocre. It was awful. But I do like PJ Walker in theory.
Yeah.
Not until he's back.
We got it. What do we got here? What's his name? What's his name again? Is that
This is Kylo.
Kylo is back.
Yes, who's back? Back again. Kylo's back.
That's a cute dog. I saw you kind of listening for him. What was going on?
Yeah, he was crying at the door. Yeah, so
he wanted to join the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
he's done a lot in Carolina in a tough division in 1 year.
Yeah, you're right. Let's see. Should we move on? Wrap up pretty soon. Let's see. What do you guys think of Rashad Perryman versus Denzel Mims rest of the season? Interesting. I'm curious to see what happens with Denzel because I don't know who's going to be the quarterback, and I think Mims has flashed a little talent in the last couple of games. Also, what is the quarterback's name? They're not. I'm not talking about Safe
Flacco,
Space Sam.
Flacco. Yeah,
Flacco. Would you play Flacco this week? Good matchup. He's got Mims, and he's got what's his name? Crowder. Might be a decent. I mean, who would you rather play? Would you rather play Kirk or I already forgot his name. Flacco. Joe Flacco. Go with you, Jared.
I am not desperate enough to play Joe Flacco. Yeah, I mean he had. Let's see. He had 21 against New England. He threw for 262 and 3 touchdowns, but. Man, I mean, you could just get a total, face plant out of him. So I would be worried about that. I mean, if your other option is Taysom Hill, maybe Taysom Hill are trying to decide between Taysom and Jameis.
That is my other option.
Maybe then. I mean, there's no scenario in which you would never play anyone. I mean, depending on the size of your league and the number of teams, number of roster spots, then you could do it, but I would have to be pretty desperate.
What do you think, AJ?
Yeah, so I'm in that boat of being desperate. Remember, I'm starting Alex Smith this week. Yeah, I might have to go either Smith or Flacco, flip a coin. With Super Bowl, keep in mind, this is Super Bowl MVP Joe Flacco we're talking about. I don't know how I feel about Mims. He's gotten 6 points in aggregate, 6 points in 3 weeks. So that might be fine. I don't know what to say about him. Perryman also is interesting because I look at the Jets and I'm like, who did Flacco even throw to that whole game? And it was Perryman. So
I think it was Perryman.
It was Perryman, 2 touchdowns. Yeah. So Perryman, I'm interested about, but I mean, Darnold still got the thing of coming back. If Flacco starts playing out rest of the season, Perryman is interesting to me. If Darnold is coming back, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, both of them are kind of it does seem to be like a lot of mediocre wide receivers out there. Although I've been burnt a couple times with zeros from from going back to what's his name in on Tampa, Justin or Taylor or what's his name? The off wide receiver.
Oh, Scotty Miller.
There we go, Scotty Miller. Yeah,
yeah. So very close. Justin Taylor, Scotty Miller. Whatever. They do have a. I think they do have a Justin something. So you're probably you're probably thinking of him. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. From Scotty Miller to, it just feels like a lot of these guys.
Russell
Gage. I mean, they'll give you a zero every now and then. And so you got to be careful. Okay, and this is a good question to end with. Are there any DSTs worth stashing for the playoffs? Guys, I've been scouring for – it's a weird season for DSTs. I feel like even if you thought you had a great one, at this point you're like, I just throw any of them in. It just feels like a real dart throw with DSTs this year.
Yeah.
Are there any ones that you feel good about? I'm just saying any DST that you really like for the rest of the season. And then on the waiver wire, have you seen any that could be real good stashes?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like AJ, you got I
have one real fast, and Drew just brought it up. The Cleveland Browns get the Giants and the Jets for the fantasy playoffs. And yes, they're 56% owned. I'm guessing a whole lot of people are going to drop them when they have to play Tennessee in week 13. If you can carry 2 defenses, stash them for Tennessee, stash them for Baltimore, and then pull them out in the playoffs because they get some of the best. I don't think there's a better fantasy playoff defensive matchup out there with the Giants and the Jets. You're gonna have to struggle through Tennessee and Baltimore. If you're locked into a spot at that point, if you've clinched a spot, maybe you can suffer through that. If you don't have a chance of losing your number 1 or 2 seed, if it's bye weeks, if you get a bye week, then that's real nice because then you can just sit them out for the Baltimore game. But if you can hang on to them for those last 2 weeks, Cleveland has a magnificent schedule.
I just picked him up, and Myles Garrett just went on the IR. So
I saw that.
COVID, right?
That's what I meant. The COVID list.
One that I've tried to get. I mean, as far as ones that have. Well, here's the thing. There's some that, obviously are going to be owned. Like Pittsburgh has, a pretty nice schedule with Cincinnati.
Pittsburgh.
They did well against Cincinnati in the first matchup. This one will be in Cincinnati, but I don't know how much that makes a difference without crowds this year. So Cincinnati, and then they get the Colts at home, which, I mean, the Colts just aren't a prolific offense. I think that's not a bad matchup, but everybody's going to have Pittsburgh. One that I've been trying to get a lot of for their week 15 matchup is the Rams, because they get the Jets at home in week 15. And a lot of people had dropped them prior to last week. And so I picked them up in a lot of places. I guess maybe for, I think Cleveland is Cleveland's a great one. If you're looking for one, if you can carry one defense and you need one to do both of those playoff weeks, 15 and 16, I guess maybe along those lines, another one I would suggest would be AJ's Bears, because they've got week 15. Week 15 is not the greatest. It's at Minnesota, but they're coming off of a game where they just put up 12 points against Minnesota. So they've proven they can, hang with them a little bit. And then week 16, they get the Jaguars. So not something I love. One more for week 15 that might be a kind of a little, sneakier play is we've kind of forgotten a little bit about Indianapolis. And they get Houston at home in week 15. So
that's a good one.
Yeah.
And how much are they owned? Indianapolis. You mentioned
they're 73, I think, right now.
Yeah, I was just looking. I started to almost retract that after I saw that they were still 73% owned.
That's still. I mean, they're still on some. They're not on any of my waiver wire, but they're still. If you see them out there, grab them up.
Yeah.
Plus, a lot of people might drop them if they have a bad game against Green Bay this week. Then you can just grab them on Saturday next week.
Right.
Good point. Keep an eye out for them. And the Rams and the Browns are widely available right now. Not if you're in any of my leagues. I have the Browns almost everywhere, but it is frustrating though. Without Myles Garrett, they're not the same. I've looked at the split, and I feel like it's kind of like Seattle with Jamal Adams. It's like without that player sort of makes it's and Jamal and Garrett are sort of the same, or I should say Jamal and Miles, but or Milas, the way I like to say it. They tend to be kind of they all around the field versatile and devastating defensive players, right?
Yep.
Okay, guys, I think that's going to have to wrap it up for me, unless you guys have anything else. We do have one question. I think we already didn't.
Yeah. I think someone else asked this exact question. Oh, that's funny.
We'd probably go with Myers, and especially with Teddy Two Gloves being questionable. Just stick with Myers. So probably Moore's going to blow up this week, but. We got dogs we got to take care of. We got life to go to. Love talking to you guys. I always enjoy this whole. I mean, I sometimes I'm like, maybe we should just start a podcast about something else, because I just like talking to these people.
Yeah,
football is starting to be a little bit too toxic for me, and not just because I'm losing mainly.
I've hit. Well, I mean, like I said, my teams are all. Lots of 6-4, 6-4, 5-5, some 4-6. But I've hit that point where okay, I'm ready for this to be done, especially this season. But this is always kind of the home stretch, like weeks 11 through 14 are kind of the home stretch. Yeah. Because now it's down to 4 games. You can see where you are in the standings, how far or ahead you are of someone, and basically what you kind of need to do in order to win. And so if you're 2 games back of the 4th place team, you start looking and saying, I may need to go 4-0 and hope that he goes 2-2, and then I edge him on points or something, So really it's kind of at this point that I always really lock in on okay, exactly what is it that I need to get in. So, and if you're up in the standings, you never feel safe. You're like, oh, I could lose the next 4 games, and that guy could win the next 4, and then I would miss out on it. But if you're behind, you're like, oh my gosh, I need this, and I need this, and I need this. But like last year, I had a team that was not a good team. It was not a good. I had just wrecked by injuries, $100 league, and it was like 3-7 or something like that. And then I won my last 4 games to get into the playoffs, and in week 14, I had to beat the number 1 team in the league just for the honor of playing him again the following week. And so I'm like, okay, well, there's no way I'm going to beat him twice in a row. Maybe I can just then get into the 3rd place game and break even. I beat him again, and then I won the championship. So
let's go.
So I went from like 3-7 with a crappy team to winning the league. And so it's those little experiences where you're like, okay, I got to just push through this to the end, because you don't know what can happen.
There you go. Giving me hope for my 1-3-7 team that I'm trying to make a push with.
Well, I've got another one this year that started. It's another $100 league. It started 0-4, and I'm back to 5-5. And one game out of, and like the 4th place team is 5-5. I'm just losing on points. So you play it through. You run through the tape. Through the tape.
Yep.
Run through the tape. I like that. Let's go with that. I also leave in the comment section below, even after we leave, tell us what you'd like us to talk about. I am thinking that maybe we should segue into reverse redaction or something soon here, especially after the season ends, where we talk about Star Wars and Marvel movies. Maybe we talk about shows. Give us I'd rather not talk about sports anymore soon. So let us know what you think. And good luck. Anthony says good luck. And good luck to you guys. We will.
That is one thing that I do have to say real quick. It's funny. I was talking to someone. I was like, we've kind of built up like a Rotohackers community here. Of like fantasy football. It. Like everyone who's here, whether they're in the chat now or have ever been, it's just y'all are awesome, man.
Yeah, I love it.
That's really kind of what you have to do, and I've seen like so many, like the real way to make money on social media though is like I've seen all these guys that have entertainment channels, but then they're transitioning them into more like talking partisan politics. And so that's the way it goes. And so like I want to go the other way. Like let's talk about let's talk about fun stuff. But those guys, like that's where the real clicks, views, shares, likes, all that is from that stuff. And I'm like, oh well, this was a cool channel for a while, but now you're seeing that's where the real money is. So that's what you're transitioning to. So anyway, so maybe there's going to be a vacuum. Maybe there's going to be a vacuum there.
What about stocks? Do you guys have any interest in the market? Because
I do, but I'm not like, I'm still just kind of in the process of, learning more about it. And
me too.
So I don't know enough to,
All right. Well, lots of different options. I would say that politics, I've tried that before and don't like that. It's toxic. But went from NFL to no. I'd rather just there's a time and place. But anyway, so leave a comment in the comment section of whatever you're watching here, and let us know.
I think Drew said off-season talk. I'd totally be down for that too. That's always fun. We always kind of like after the Super Bowl we take like a month and a half sabbatical from just football.
Yeah, that's true.
General, so.
Although last year we really kind of we did a lot in the off season.
We put in work.
I don't think I've got the energy for that this off season, like because it's just been so it like again like going back to the finish line analogy, it just feels like. But if it, like to change it a little bit, like, getting there, with your car and just pieces falling off, and then the engine dies out like right after you cross the finish line. Like I think that's going to be it for me this season. It's just been so messy, that I'm just like, I'm ready to get this done and then take a break.
Yes, I like the idea of taking a break. Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of taking a break, we're gonna go do something else, and so all to our various endeavors. Have a wonderful weekend, both you guys and everybody in the chat. We'll talk to you guys. Definitely, we'll be here back hopefully on Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
And anything else? Or are we good to go?
I think I'm good to go.
Yeah, I think I'm good. Like Jared always says, good luck this week.
That's right.
There we go. I didn't cut him off, or you this time.